The quarterly Blackwood Industries board meeting was supposed to be held in the executive conference room on the 42nd floor, but here I was, relegated to the kitchen area of our corporate headquarters like some intern fetching coffee. My stepmother Victoria had made it crystal clear where she thought I belonged when she handed me a stack of catering orders and said, "Alexia darling, perhaps you could oversee the refreshments while the real executives handle the important discussions." The real executives. That stung, considering I'd been building my own investment portfolio for the past 4 years while they assumed I was playing around with daddy's money. My tailored Chanel blazer felt out of place among the industrial kitchen equipment, but I straightened it anyway. Through the glass partition, I could see the mahogany conference table where my half-brother Vincent was setting up his presentation materials. "Ladies and gentlemen," Vincent's voice carried through the intercom system they'd forgotten to turn off, "I'm pleased to report that Blackwood Industries continues to show steady growth under my leadership." His leadership. The man who'd inherited the CEO position simply because he was born 18 months before me to father's first wife. I checked my Patek Philippe watch. 2:47 p.m. In exactly 13 minutes, my team of acquisition specialists would complete the largest purchase in corporate history. But Vincent didn't know that yet. None of them did. My phone buzzed with a text from my chief financial advisor, "Final documentation ready. Signature needed for 52.1% controlling stake. Awaiting your confirmation." Through the partition, I watched the board members nodding along to Vincent's sanitized version of the company's performance. They had no idea that Blackwood Industries was hemorrhaging money faster than a punctured oil tanker. 3 failed international expansions, a lawsuit brewing in Singapore, and accounting irregularities that would make the SEC very interested. But I knew. My forensic accountants had been digging for years. "Alexia." Victoria's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "The board members are asking for sparkling water with lime. Could you handle that?" Of course they were. I smiled and reached for the crystal glasses, each one worth more than most people's monthly salary. "Absolutely, Victoria. Anything for the board." The same board members who had secretly approved my takeover bid last Tuesday. Funny how quickly corporate loyalty shifted when you showed people the real numbers behind Vincent's creative accounting. My phone rang, and I glanced at the caller ID, Harrison & Associates, the law firm handling my acquisition. I let it ring twice before answering, making sure my voice would carry through the open kitchen door. "Alexia Blackwood speaking. Ms. Blackwood, we're ready to execute the final purchase. You'll own 52.1% of Blackwood Industries as of market close today. Should we proceed?" The presentation in the conference room stopped mid-sentence. I could see Vincent's hand frozen over his laptop keyboard, his expensive suit suddenly looking less confident. "Yes," I said clearly, walking closer to the glass partition. "Execute the purchase immediately." "Congratulations, Ms. Blackwood. You're now the majority shareholder and de facto CEO of Blackwood Industries. The board has been notified." I ended the call and walked into the conference room, still carrying the tray of sparkling water. The silence was deafening. Vincent recovered first, his practiced smile barely concealing his confusion. "Alexia, we're in the middle of a board presentation. Personal calls can wait." "Actually," I said, setting the tray down at the head of the table where Vincent usually sat, "this call was directly related to our board meeting." I pulled out my phone and showed them the confirmation email from my lawyers. "As of 3 minutes ago, I own controlling interest in Blackwood Industries." The room erupted in chaos. Board members pulled out their phones, frantically checking messages. Victoria's face went pale beneath her expertly applied makeup. "That's impossible," Vincent said, but his voice cracked. "You don't have that kind of money." I smiled, remembering all the times they dismissed my little investment hobby. While they'd been playing corporate politics, I'd been building an empire. "Don't I? Perhaps you should ask Montgomery Capital about their recent acquisition spree. Or inquire with Sterling Holdings about their increased stake in various tech companies." Recognition dawned in Vincent's eyes. "Those shell companies that kept buying our shares. All mine. Along with Northbridge Investments, Crimson Capital, and about 15 other holding companies you never bothered to investigate." I pulled out my tablet and connected it to the conference room's display system. "Would you like to see what I discovered during my due diligence?" Charts and graphs filled the screen, showing the true state of Blackwood Industries under Vincent's leadership. Hidden losses, failed ventures, and some very creative accounting that made the company look profitable when it was actually drowning in debt. "Where did you get this information?" Vincent demanded, his CEO facade cracking completely. "From my team of forensic accountants. The same team that's been building my case for the past 4 years, while you all thought I was playing dress-up in the business world." My phone buzzed again. A message from the Securities and Exchange Commission's Enforcement Division: investigation approved. Audit begins Monday morning. I showed the message to the room. "Oh, Vincent, you might want to clear out your office by Friday. The SEC's forensic team will need the space." Father, who had been silent throughout this exchange, finally spoke. "The board can't just hand over control to you, Alexia. This is a family company." "It's a publicly traded company," I corrected, "and as of 4 minutes ago, I'm the majority shareholder." The board had no choice but to accept my bid, especially after they saw these. I switched to another set of documents on the screen. Bank records showing the $180 million Vincent had lost on the Australian mining venture. The fake consulting fees that went straight to offshore accounts. The insider trading that would put him in federal prison. "This is confidential information," Vincent shouted, yanking at his tie. "Was confidential. The SEC has copies of everything now." My assistant knocked on the conference room door. "Ms. Blackwood? The press has arrived for your announcement. Wall Street Journal and Financial Times are in the lobby." I looked around the room at my family's shocked faces. Victoria clutched her pearl necklace like a lifeline. Father sat stunned in his leather chair. Vincent looked like he might vomit. "Actually," I said, standing up, "let's hold the press conference right here. In the kitchen where they thought I belonged." I walked back to the kitchen area and gestured for the reporters to follow. "Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I'm pleased to announce that effective immediately, I'll be serving as CEO of Blackwood Industries. Our first order of business will be addressing the financial irregularities discovered during our transition audit." Vincent appeared in the doorway, his face red with rage. "You can't do this. I built this company." "No, Vincent. Father built this company. You nearly destroyed it." I turned back to the reporters. "We'll be implementing immediate reforms to ensure transparency and accountability. The previous management's creative accounting practices end today." A reporter from Bloomberg raised her hand. "Ms. Blackwood, sources say you've been operating under a different name in the financial sector. Can you confirm?" I smiled. "That's correct. For the past 4 years, I've been building Montgomery Capital under my professional name, Alexandra Sterling. You might have seen our recent acquisition of Morrison Technologies, or our successful turnaround of Pacific Industries." The room fell silent except for the clicking of camera shutters. Vincent's mouth dropped open. "Alexandra Sterling? The woman who saved Meridian Corporation from bankruptcy?" "The same one you quoted in your investor report last quarter," I confirmed. "You called my restructuring strategy brilliant, and the future of corporate recovery." "I'm flattered you were paying attention." Victoria stumbled backward. But Alexandra Sterling is worth billions. Forbes put her on their cover last month." $7 billion, actually. And yes, that's me. Though you'd know that if any of you had bothered to read the business section instead of the society pages." My phone rang again. This time it was CNBC requesting a live interview for their closing bell segment. I put it on speaker. "Ms. Sterling, or should we say Ms. Blackwood, the market is responding very positively to news of your takeover. Blackwood Industries stock is up 37% in after-hours trading. When can we expect your first official statement as CEO?" "You can expect it right now," I said, looking directly at Vincent. "Blackwood Industries will be implementing a complete financial audit, replacing senior management, and focusing on sustainable growth rather than creative accounting. We'll also be cooperating fully with any regulatory investigations." Vincent collapsed into one of the kitchen chairs. "The SEC investigation. How long have you been planning this?" 4 years, 2 months, and 16 days, I said precisely. "Ever since the last family meeting where you told me I'd never understand real business and suggested I stick to planning charity galas." Security guards appeared at the kitchen entrance. "Ma'am, We're here to escort the former executive team from the building. Former. Father finally found his voice. I'm afraid so. The board voted unanimously to terminate all senior management pending the SEC investigation. Don't worry though, your severance packages are quite generous, considering the circumstances. As security led Vincent away, he turned back one last time. The kitchen, he said bitterly. We always made you wait in the kitchen. Yes, I agreed, settling into my new role as CEO. And while you were all congratulating yourselves in the boardroom, I was building an empire worth more than this company will ever be. Ironic, isn't it? My assistant approached with a stack of documents. Ma'am, your first board meeting as CEO is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Also, Forbes wants to update their cover story. They're suggesting the headline, From Kitchen to Corner Office, How Alexia Blackwood Fooled Everyone. I looked around the industrial kitchen where I'd been relegated for so many years, then at the conference room where the real business had supposedly happened. Actually, I said, let's do something different. Move the executive offices down here to the kitchen level. If this is where the real work gets done, this is where we should be. As I watched my family's luxury cars leave the parking garage, cars that would be repossessed by morning once the SEC froze their assets, I couldn't help but smile. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from the New York Stock Exchange. Blackwood Industries trading resuming under new leadership. Analysts predict record gains. I had built my empire from the kitchen, listening through doors, dismissed and underestimated. But as it turned out, the kitchen had the perfect view of everything that mattered. They just never bothered to look. And now? Now I owned it all. The irony wasn't lost on me that while they'd been keeping me in the kitchen, I'd been cooking up the deal of the century. Sometimes the best revenge really is served cold. Well, lukewarm at least. I was never much of a cook.